Hi, this is Becky Nevin with ThoughtLine, and today I have with me Lily Tang Williams. And we both live in the great state of New Hampshire, and both of us are concerned about the Chinese CCP linked infiltration into New Hampshire that's happening. Several properties have been bought and we are concerned. So I have Lily with me today. She has a very relevant background on this because she grew up under Mao, and she's going to fill us in on a little bit of her background and then her concerns about what's happening here in New Hampshire. Welcome, Lily.
Well, thank you for having me on your show and best luck to your future success.
Thank you. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your upbringing and living under Mao's revolution?
Well, I was born in China, southwestern and Sichuan province. And when I was only 2 years old, Mao started his so-called the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. I did not know anything. Of course, I was too young. And my memory started that I was babysitted by my grandmother. So as a 4 or 5 years old, I saw the chaos and the Red Guards, the public square struggle sessions, and also somebody committed suicide and jump into a community well in my grandma's community. I was so scared I did not even remember that for many years. I buried that painful memory. I mean, it was too, basically traumatic for a child. And of course, we were very poor, very hungry, but luckily we were so-called red class families. Same all separated, all Chinese people look the same, speak the same languages under two big, giant, groups, oppressor versus oppressed. And under oppressed, our family, a worker's family, is supposed to be that group. There are five classes of red oppressed groups, workers and peasants and of course the soldiers and like the government officials who part of the CCP. And so we're good families. And who are the black classes, which is under oppressor? It's the landlords and the rich peasants, farmers, counter revolutionaries, and the bad influencers, and the rightists. I mean, those categories are pretty fluid. Like, who defines who is the rightist, who is a bad influencer? Of course, it's the Mao CCP propaganda machine. So the 10 classes were fighting each other, tooth and nail. So some of those movies you saw, like To Live, and also books you read and about those 10 years, completely social and political chaos, political violence, and 20 million people just during that 10 years died. Not even count Mao's great famine starved about 40 million to 60 million people to death. And so that's how I grew up. So I had no idea about the truth. I had no idea about the outside the world. I just remember I was hungry. We lived in a poverty, and 8 families with children shared one female bathroom and one male bathroom.
Hmm.
And we had to share one community water faucet. And we did not have winter heat. We were freezing cold. I got a frostbite. I was hungry. We live on food rationing, like basically you're hungry all the time.
Mm.
And then when I started to go to school, of course, it's always the government school brainwashing. Long live Chiang Mao. We had to chant that. Long live the Communist Party. And 10,000 years, another 10,000 years. So Mao basically were like God to me. I thought he was going to live forever. I never challenged that until he died. When he died, I was 12 years old. I was 12. So I that's first time in my life I asked that question to say, you know, how did he die? I was lied to. He was human. That's beginning of my long awakening. So
Mm.
by the time that and university restarted because he shut down the whole educational system to do cultural revolution, and Red Guards, were violent. And after he becomes supreme leader, he sent the Red Guard to China's countryside for 10 years. So my three uncles all went to rural China for 10 years and come home once a year to visit. He sent them away because after he used those young people for his revolution, for his and like purge of his political enemies, that's his real purpose. And to start that revolution, that he sent them away. So I remembered that lots of sad stories happened in that period, and I decided I need to go to college. I need to search for truth. I need to find out what happened, who lied to us, my generation, entire Chinese population. So I was 17 years old finally when I made it to Shanghai to go to college. That's like beginning of my, new chapter of my life.
And what did you study there?
I studied law. Why did I choose law? I had teachers telling me you will make a great journalist. Asked me to study journalism. I said I got my heart set on law because our country needs rule of law. My teacher, my favorite teacher, advisor in high school, when I was 16, told me that he was sick. I was class president, and I went there to pay a visit to say hello. And he was very ill. He told me his story. He said in the 50s, he was one of the college graduates encouraged by the Communist Party to give feedback. He and others gave feedback, not talk about bad ones, just say here to improve on this policy, that policy. Then they could get on blacklist or sent to the labor camps. So he had to do the hard and physical labor and hurt his back. And he always had a big problem with his back because he was a very tall man. And he told me, our country is ruled by men, very few men. We don't have a rule of law. That just hit me so hard. I said, I'm going to study law. I'm going to transform China into rule of law society for equality, for justice. So I studied very hard for 2 years, nonstop. We had to pass the nationalized college entrance exam, all centralized, to go to government colleges. And so it's a very competitive test. Out of Sichuan province, like millions of young kids. And I made it to the top 5 Chinese universities in Shanghai for the Fudan University and study law. Only 3 students from my province were in that class,
Oh, wow.
out of 60,
Wow.
And we were the first class of, in law school because law schools were shut down. There was no law. It was total chaos. And talk about defund police, like police were told, stand down, do not enforce any laws. Sounds familiar. So I studied law and I stayed there for 4 years from 17 to 21. Then I got a job afterwards to be faculty member, to stay at the same law school to teach because they were desperate for teachers. Somebody like me, just with a bachelor degree after 4 years college, I could stay in Shanghai. I wanted to because Shanghai was open, was an international city, and was ready to do economical reform, do international commerce. And Chengdu from Sichuan is more inland and backwards. And so I stayed there to be assistant professor for 3 years. So I was in Shanghai for total, I think, 7 years, and 3 plus 4, 7 years before I left for United States.
Okay, awesome. Um, So once you got here, you met the love of your life in Austin. Yeah. And then you raised children. And so moving ahead, we want to talk about what's going on in New Hampshire, where you're living. And we're all living in the live free or die state. Um, but it doesn't seem like it's as free as we want it to be, or at least that's my opinion. So why don't you tell us what's going on here in New Hampshire that you're very concerned about?
Well, I really come to America for freedom. So I lived in different states, and I found the New Hampshire. I love the live free or die model. I did my research, and when I look at what's going on in Colorado today now, it's like I'm glad we made that decision to come to, this brand new state. And I know that I cannot take my newly found freedom for granted. I had to get involved in politics as a citizen, had no choice. And, it doesn't matter you like politics or not. I feel like they have interest in you. I woke up in this country under Obama and said, you know what, this is my new country. I'm a new American citizen. I have to do something to warn people who were moving down to wrong path. So I come to New Hampshire, immediately become very active at the grassroots level. I become a chair of where Republican committee. I got elected the supervisor of checklisting where I witnessed the pandemic, the lockdowns, and the also terror nature of all kind of politicians and show their true colors. I also saw the similarities between the work cancel culture with mouse culture revolution by using identity politics. So I co-founded the even Aging American Coalition. I got involved with charity. I feel like it's my duty to really get involved and also united our citizens. So I've been active for a while. When some local people say, Lydia, you should run for office. I mean, I did. I run for supervisor of checklist. Then later, someone encouraged me to run for Congress. I said, I'm kind of new here, but I took the challenge anyway. So first time I ran, 2022, I did not win the nomination. And the second time, 2024, I won the Republican nomination. And so now it's my third time. And during this running, because I talk about China a lot, and so I become like the kind of national famous one for anti-CCP, anti-communist congressional candidate originally from China. Not many people are like me yet. So people tip me this last April to say, Lily, do you know that this Longfu Spring just went to your state, bought this property? And we all had no idea. And so I went on Post of New Hampshire, Jackie, his show, Good Morning New Hampshire, talk about this. And he had no idea. And we had also New Hampshire Business Journal had no idea. So everything closed almost a year ago, January 31st, 2025, very quietly. And 4 times much paid to buy this property in Nashua and very close to everything. And their plan is to buy the Pennachuck Water to expand the largest beverage company business from People's Republic of China to United States in Nashua. And so we start to talk about it. I have my own concerns. My major concern is that I know you cannot become the number one billionaire in China, the largest, beverage company in China, by being so-called, like the United States called a private entrepreneur. You have to be subject to the one-party control. You have to subject their laws. And China passed a national security law, national intelligence law, mandate their citizens and companies overseas, you must cooperate with the government and to collect intelligence, to perform certain tasks, and to assist them. Otherwise, your assets, your families could be at risk. because I know that because they threaten me with death, and I'm even afraid to go home. I'm an American citizen, not a Chinese passport carrier anymore. So I'm always worried about that. And I also know how deeply China infiltrated into the United States since WTO, since they entered World Trade Organization under Bill Clinton. They come here, buy business and list on Wall Street for stock exchange and buying schools and Confucius Institute and come here to get funded by Chinese government to go to our colleges, our middle school, high schools to glorify China in the name of teaching language and culture. I know what they've been doing, but I just did not know they would be coming to my state. so I just start to talk about it, had 10 interviews. And during this time, I discovered, oh, they bought Daniel Webster College. Then later, people tipped me. They bought a new, like a Chester College called a Chester, I think formerly called Chester New England College or Chester of New England College or something like that. And all private colleges, of course, we had no regulations, which let them buy whatever they want. And of course, Confucius Institute was on UNH campus for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And funded by Chinese government. It's like all those things, just like I said, oh, I need to warn people. I'm not saying all the Chinese people here are bad.
Of course
Some
not.
of them,
yeah.
Yes, you got to separate people from the government. Right. Yeah, but how do you separate? You have to look at the whole pictures to say, you have to vent people. You have, another concern is that the Norfolk Spring location is within 100 miles radius to join the base, which federal government has a regulation under committee for the foreign investment review on their website. Joint base Cape Cod in Massachusetts within 100 miles. You cannot allow anyone from adversary countries to buy anything without the federal government review or the approval. But they did not even apply. They did not even apply to be reviewed. And the timing is fishy. January 31st, during the two presidential administration transition time, and we did not even have a treasury secretary, which is supposed to, supervise this committee. And, the Trump administration just got sworn in, and Biden administration people were gone. So there's a huge vacuum area. Then we did research on the seller and public traded company and their shareholders and Norfolk Spring. I look at the Chinese website and Chinese internet to do research, and so it's just very concerning that they escaped the federal review, and then they trying to sweep under the rug. Nobody talk about it. No media talk about it. And now we found out, oh, it's not just in Nashua. I mean, they actually were working with the Nashua city government and state economic development, according to Attorney General's report investigation ordered by our governor. And now we found out, they kind of courted them to come here.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so now, like, what is next plan? Are we going to give them a permit to buy water? Because our current law right now passed last year to say we just do not allow adversary countries, nationals and companies coming here to New Hampshire to buy any real estate. And that was inside of our budget last year. But there's nothing said about deals or it happened before this law. So we need to have a discussion about what do we do now? Grassroots got to know about this.
So let me ask you a question. We need to sort of hone in a little bit. You mentioned Nifu Springs, which is hard to pronounce, and Chester College, but there's another property too.
Daniel Webster College.
Yes. And you said one of them has an airstrip.
I think Daniel Webster College is next to Nashua. airport and our air traffic control center, I actually went to the site, and there used to be some kind of aviation school training site.
Oh,
So yeah, so they are there is a like a quite a big dormitory buildings, and next to airport. I did not personally see the
right.
airstrip like a runway, but they used to be like aviation school. Maybe they were using the national airport next door to do the training. And they're saying that right now you have two renters on campus. The campus is not active since they bought it 2018 and by a Chinese educational company. Same thing that Chester College purchased by an educational company in China. And it's a part of a huge company that they wanted to train China's future diplomat. They own lots of international schools. And that I'm talking about the owner of Chester College. We're shaking hands with the president of China, Hu Jintao, and take videos and pictures with People's Liberation Army. And so that the Daniel Webster College, just like the Longful Spring location, it's within 100 miles of our joint base, in Cape Cod. And you got the two defense contractors right there in Nashua. And you got our local water supplier. And then you have air traffic control. It just, there are lots of national security concerns. And
Right.
plus, water security is
And
part
that's
of national
huge.
security. Yes.
So let me ask you, you talked before about the CCP, and from talking with you before, it's my understanding that everybody who you're talking about is actually tethered to the CCP when they come here. They don't come here independently. They must remain in contact with the CCP. Is that right?
Well, that just like the students over the years have changed. In the 80s, 90s, students like me from China really want to come here. I mean, we come here basically with nothing, but we want to come to the United States for freedom, for the opportunity to succeed. And I wanted to just escape China,
Right.
because I realized I just cannot be happy in that one party controlled dictatorship. And but over the years now, China economy got better because it's economical reform, and the people naive about China, have a romance about China, think China is going to be like us, become a more democratic, and I mean I understand all that, but China has changed over the years, and ever since Xi Jinping become the leader, there's no election; those are all appointed, leaders or elected by the Communist Party only. So, I mean, he has a huge international ambition through the Belt and Road Initiative, Confucius Institute. He called the China Dream. By 2049, Xi Jinping's China Dream is to make China become the number one dominant global power and pass United States
Yeah.
economy and military, become number one dominant power. But the Chinese people cannot even vote. It's not democracy, and it's a one-party dictatorship under CCP. How is that going to affect the world? And so people got to know their true colors.
Right.
And making money together, it's great. Do you think they just want to make money, or they have other ambitions?
Exactly.
So I'm concerned, about the modern Chinese students who come out here. They are indoctrinated generation. They never suffered under Mao, and their parents are rich and not powerful, well connected, and they are pro-China, pro-CCP, and they have to perform. And they come here, stay close in touch with China, with Chinese consulate, with all those so-called Chinese American, Chinese Students Associations. They all are pro-China. Some have a Chinese Communist Party and like their organization, and and they have, all that, so-called China nationalism. It's like they even don't know what happened Tiananmen Square, the
Yeah.
1989. They're
Yes.
those younger generations. So, and you see that I am self-employed, working from home. I am a China expert witness. I'm qualified to go to court to testify on China's legal system, economical espionage, and the political system. So I know that the FBI for the past few years have been opening up espionage cases almost weekly and daily. And we just let them, they took advantage of our open society
Right.
and
Right. Exactly.
come here, buy everything. It's encouraged by Chinese government to expand internationally, include their state enterprises. And there's no true, real private enterprises except small mom and pop, business, because bigger ones, they just cannot come here without government approval,
Right.
without going through process. You have to get your passport through the government approval, even for private citizens. And so it's China is a very complicated country for lots of people who don't understand what is going on even today in China. And I just have to sound that alarm to say, I'm concerned about them in our state.
Right. So
And
let me because we're running out of time. We have only 5 more minutes left. Um, do you have a website?
I have my website, lilytangwilliams.com, and you can go to my donation link, my volunteer link. You can read under blog what articles I published, what interviews I had done. I have been very active on X, on social media like Facebook, and to warn people.
Right.
And coming up this Saturday, January 31st, there is a public discussion in Hollis Library about the Longfu Spring purchase and update from some state legislators on the bills. And there are some bills being proposed. And also that from people who are just concerned, have questions
Right.
about this.
Right.
So I'm hoping that people can come on Saturday at 3 p.m. in Hollis Library.
Well, let's hope the weather is better on that
Yes,
day
yes.
than it is today. What one more question. Did I hear you say that Kelly Ayotte, the governor's office, was courting the Chinese to come here?
No. Governor's
Okay.
office, Kelly Ayotte actually ordered Attorney General to do a report, an investigation about Longfu Spring. What happened? The grassroots were upset, went to Nashua alderman's meeting. Mayor said, "Don't blame me. I did not know anything about this until afterwards. It's state economic development and court them here." And in
Okay.
2024, so we all turn to state, right? And WMUR also reported on this. And then the attorney general's report come out. And the actually mayor later said, well, I misspoke. It was a mistake, because the attorney general's report said 6 employees of Nashua knew about this, worked with economic development division of our state to get a Zhongshan San, the owner, come to tour our state and to check out this site and to make deal to say, hey, come here to create jobs. I understand that's their job to create jobs.
Yeah, but this
But
is not our ally. This is a sworn enemy of the United States.
that's what I'm saying, that I wish they had consulted the people on this and also look at all pros and cons if they violate the federal laws, regulations. And they just did not do their job to do
Right. Right.
research on this. And so now, the site is still there. They still own it. What's
Well,
going to happen? We don't know.
well, you know, I we can get into this on our next interview. We're going to have another interview on what's happening in the nation in terms of CCP communist influence. And we can talk more about it then. Uh, I lost my train of thought. Maybe that's good because we have only 2 minutes and 49 seconds left. So go to Lily's website. She needs donations. She needs support. She needs especially enough money to run commercials against her competitors. And her competitors are running commercials, but she's not been able to afford it. So we hope that you guys have enjoyed this interview and especially that you've learned. I think there is a way, Lily, that we can reclaim those properties. If they did not go in accordance with the law, I would think there would be some mechanisms where those deals could be undone. So that's what I was going to say. And I think New Hampshire should seriously look into that. But we'll talk again next time, and it's been great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
You're
Stay
welcome. Thank
warm.
you for
Yes,
coming.
yes.
Okay, bye.
Have